just in a little bit of pain. Um, if I move and I bump it, you'll probably know because it hurts. Like I poked it earlier to see like if it was swollen or if that's just how my foot looks, and oh my god. Um I had to stop for like 5 minutes. This stream is already 40 minutes later than I had intended it to be. And then it got like out of that 10 minutes delayed because of my foot. So, oh god, nothing ever goes right here, but that's fine. We're used to it. Anyway, we've got a game! We've got a murder mystery game. Yeah, so we're gonna play this instead of going to the hospital because I don't have a lot of free time today. Anyway, let's just start. The doors were all locked and the windows barred. The afternoon sun barely managed to leak into the dusty mansion. When the visitor knocked, the sharp sound resounded throughout the halls. Somewhere inaudible over the knocking, a pitiful voice let out a groan and called out into the hallway. Clumsy hands pulled a pillow over his face. That's too loud. I swear I can see it. If it doesn't stop, this headache will crack my skull in two. While one man complained, another already rushed to answer the door. Hello. Faraday. You have a hangover, not a headache. Have mercy, Holly. I can't handle this today. You couldn't handle this yesterday. And I don't think you'll have a lobster's chance of boiling in water of handling it tomorrow. Unsympathetic but undeterred, Holly Faraday made his way toward the front door. He ignored the other speaker and their continued whining. He sighed, the moaning wouldn't stop until the knocking did, and Faraday would have to be the one to take care of it. Opening up the door was quite a task. He muttered through a devious set of tongue-twisting charms. Cracked a stick of chalk over the candle, and detached a frankly ludicrous amount of deadbolts. Any interest in the novelty of ritual magic had worn off months ago. The seal broke and crisp air entered, full of the staticky flavor of fall. Holiday blinked as his eyes adjusted. He hadn't missed all that sunlight. Nor the serious, stiffly disapproving faces of people on the outside. A messenger was standing in the step, letter in hand. Whomever had sent it had paid to have it hand-delivered. Urgent letter for Mr. Mr. Lude Kale? Holly raised an eyebrow. They paid to have it hand-delivered. But not, it seemed. They paid to have it hand-delivered, but not, it seemed, enough to know the recipient. Okay. Okay. Comprehension seemed to drawn on the messenger's face, quickly followed by the inevitable grimace of distaste. I see. Faraday took the letter from his hand and gave it a once-over. It's not a bomb, is it? That got the jerk's attention. No, sir, it's a personal invitation. Really? Well, toss my oars, thanks. Holly rummaged his pocket for a tip, but once that transaction was accomplished, set about resealing the door. He didn't want to be responsible for anything escaping. Soon the business was accomplished, and all that was left to find out what was in the letter. Harry, quieter, please. You should get up. Open your mail yourself. Faraday could hear angry muttering as Harold got out of bed. He sounded irate. But at least he was up. I won't do it. I've done 2 before. It's all so terribly demeaning. 2 stocking-clad feet met the ground. Then one of those feet failed to keep balance. And the ground became acquainted with a pair of elbows and a forehead. Seances are just tasteless parlor tricks. He clawed his way up the doorframe, and Harold Ludicale stood as tall as he momentarily could. How dare they? They're speaking to a true alchemical genius? And a man who can control the fabric of the human soul. Holly fluttered the letter at him. Why don't you try controlling the fabric of your pants, buddy? Hal took one moment to register the state of his undress. And at that moment was all it took to puncture the little energy he had. Be that as it may, neither I nor anyone could show up and summon the souls of the dead. Their regrets or outstanding grievances? Perhaps I could summon those. But any vengeful presence strong enough to contact might kill the whole lot of them, rather than shake the table. Holly sighed again. Maybe it would have been better to leave Harold passed out on the chase lounge. After all, Harold couldn't be pedantic while passed out in the chase lounge. I'll tell this Bell person you say no then. Harold waved a permissive gesture. Good, good, don't call me unless it's one big escape. It took a while for anything to filter through the muck in his brain as the neuron finally made contact. Harold tripped again. Bell? As in Bernadette Bell, the author? Holly caught both Harold and the Sunwild look in his eye. The famous author? Yeah? Managing both Harold and the letter was certainly a handful. But Holly managed to reread the letter. The latter. Which was to say, the letter. It says, Professor Ludicale, I request your presence at a party in my home this coming Saturday. I have heard of your incredible research into the supernatural sciences. I need a man with your experience for the job. I can trust no one else with this important task. My regards, Bernadette Bell. Harold got to his feet, brushing himself off. Well, it would be the pinnacle of rudeness to decline. So you bring business cards to this? Or will you just pass out slips labeled kiss ass so they know your real job? Harold shook his head, hungover, suddenly absent. How do you not know Belle? She's been serialized for 2 years now, writes those murder mysteries with the shockingly grisly means of death. Holly shrugged. An associate of hers was just murdered a few days ago. The irony kept it all over the papers. They have no leads at all, claiming an imp might have been the murder weapon. It's creepy to obsess about other people's business. You never know when you might need that information. We wouldn't want to make a faux pas if we met her. Fine, I guess this settles it. Even if you've just said seances are fake. I meant it's more complicated than that. Even if there's very little evidence that they're real, you never know what we might find out in the future. That's a longer way to say fake. So, they want a good ghost story for their party. What's wrong with that? Well, it's not deceptive, per se. It's fun for the guests if we all pretend it's real. That's the idea. Holly chuckled. Well then, I'm coming with you. Seeing as you lie your ass off sounds like a show I don't want to miss. Plus, they said there'll be dinner. I haven't gotten to eat something I didn't cook myself in ages. Harold chewed the inside of his cheek for a moment before responding. Just promise you won't embarrass me. Me? With you running around playing pretend about fake ghosts for a scrap of establishment acknowledgement? You really think I'm going to be the embarrassing one? Well, you don't exactly know how to dress. Holly didn't see fit to dignify that with a response. He turned around and left Harold standing. In the hall, in his undergarments. A week later, Faraday and Harold stood dwarfed by the massive mansion of Bernadette Bell. Thank goodness I brought the big jar of salt. This place is going to need a lot to seal. If you're going to be faking the ghost spot thing, why bother sealing anything? I'm a professional, Holly. I am, at least, capable of sealing a building until sunrise. Sure you can stay up that late? Stepping onto the front porch, their feet passed over a metal grate. The strange device on the floor set off a ringing tone inside the house. Do you think that's an imp doorbell? That seems excessive. Not to mention expensive. Or maybe the place is rigged up with electricity? She must have been richer than I thought. What year is this? How do I look? Fine. I really wish you'd dressed in something nicer. This is the nicest stuff I have. Plus, it's not like clothes change who you are. Either they'll like you or they won't. And surprisingly, this did nothing at all to Faraday's companion associate? Huh. Now there was a question. What was Harry Luke? What even were they anymore? Keeping track of Ludicale's social lives was one thing. But by this point, finding a true label is beyond Faraday's capabilities, especially because he really didn't want to think about any of that right now. Just say I'm your assistant, they won't care then. Oh, that only made it worse. Faraday tried again. So you read a few of her books this week, right? Well, I read a bit. Define a bit. I fell asleep on the third page. I usually like seafaring stories, but it was so dreary. Don't look at me like that. There's going to be a play soon. I'll simply watch it when it comes out. But the short stories are good. I'm certain that they are. You can tell me all about the book. all about how the book was better once we've seen the show. Look, the first one sucks. She's clearly never been on a boat before. But they get a lot better. Do they now? I wanted to come prepared, so I read a few. There was a sound of movement behind the door. The host herself, Bernadette Bell, opened the door. A robust woman in fashionable dress. There was a touch of tiredness in her gaze and a rasp in her throat. A stern, elderly figure stood behind her. Oh, it's Dr. Ludicale. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I haven't been feeling up to snuff lately. It's no trouble, Miss Bell. Please, call me Harold. Harold it is, then. I'm glad you could make it. It might have been rather short notice, but for you, anything. I must confess to being something of a fan. Really? And this is my assistant, Holly Faraday. Don't worry, I understand how valuable good help is. This is my editor, Debbie Vance. Vance extended her wrist towards Harold. Her dress and demeanor were both firmly rooted in the prior century. I was the one who told her about your work. Harold, no stranger to dusty old customs, kissed the back of Vance's hand. It's a pleasure to meet you both. Come on in, don't just stand out there. I want to get started as soon as everyone else has arrived. Miss Bell, I need some time to, prepare. I love that you've kept this whole thing very mysterious. It suits a mysterious writer like yourself. But I do need to know whom I'll be summoning. My friend, Gareth Canterbury. Such a recent death might be difficult to summon. If you can't do that, then please tell me now. I meant for an amateur it would be impossible. But for an experienced summoner like me, it shouldn't be a problem. Faraday leaned in to whisper. Harry, how the hell are you going to fake? Harry hissed back softly. Have you ever heard of hot reading? Harold puffed his chest out. He seemed filled head to toe with confidence, instead of trepidation and gin. We need to get a list of the deceit's personal traits and attachments so we can contact her properly. Faraday, take some notes for me. Harold thrust a leather-bound journal into Faraday's hands. Wait, this notebook is... Then he folded to a new page and started to write. Sometimes Faraday would take notes on the people around him. Ooh, new stuff. These notes can be accessed at any time by clicking on the journal icon to the right of the textbook. If found, please return to Harold. There's nothing. Ah, okay. Click the corners to navigate, click the close to return. Oh, cool. Okay. Close. Belle turned to Vance for a moment. While she was distracted, Faraday hissed another whisper to Harold. Harry, why are there notes on me? Oh, well, I started assembling all my notes on people into one notebook. Easy to keep on hand. Holly rolled his eyes. Sarcasm dripped from his tone. Oh, of course, that makes perfect sense. No, it doesn't. Most people don't think to keep an insane little dossier of everyone they pass by. Well, my memory isn't what it used to be. What if I slip up and say something that accidentally touches upon a sore nerve and they never forgive me? Faraday took a furious scribbling. Harold looked over and watched him write. Oh, very mature. While you're at it, add snores in his sleep to your page. Belle's laughter cut through their squabble. Don't you agree, Harold? Absolutely, quite amusing. Harold had no idea what she'd been discussing with Vance. But people always liked to hear that they were funny. Miss Belle, I hate to divert you back toward a sensitive subject, but could you tell me a little about your friend's career? It's important that I know what might tie her to this mortal plane. Belle didn't miss a beat, pride in her eyes as she responded. She was a fabulous illustrator. She worked on the cover art for The Chain. Faraday leaned toward Harold to whisper, The Chain is the magazine her stories are serialized in. So would you say she likes her job? Loved it. She and I would head out to find scenes for her to paint while I did some rough drafting. She and I met when she had to illustrate something for one of my stories for the cover. She took a lot of pride in her work. Some people even collected the journals just for their covers. Quite a feat to say, sometimes the journal just sold because of her artwork. She wasn't well liked by the heads of the journal. She just told it like it is. Management always hates that. I just wanted to be clear, maybe the job didn't love her as much as she loved it. I suppose. In the parlor, there were two guests already chatting away. Or rather, one of them was endlessly, excitedly prattling on, while the other loomed silent. Oh, interesting. Faraday and Harold attempted not to stare. They failed utterly. Belle followed their gazes and chimed in. May I present Goose Downey? They're here to help me with some details about future writing ideas. They're a hitman. Inspiration is vital for a good story. And who would know more about murder than that? So tacky. Faraday took note of the new guests. Okay. Undiscovered demonologist. Incredible work. My assistant professor. Don't say his name around the dogs. He likes mulled cider. Ask him out for a drink. Apologize. Ask him to come back. Shut up, coward. Harold Hayham, orientation. Desperate. Jerk, usually intoxicated and moping, one of the most influential demonologists of the era, but has no motivation. His house is full of nightmares that are a pain in the ass to deal with, but he's the most notable one. Belle. Tonight's host writes a popular Constance Little Bear series of mysteries. Harry, if you're reading this, the train one is great. Goose Downey, they, them. A hitman? Here for Belle's research? The doorbell rang and Belle grabbed Vance's hand. Oh, another arrival. And with that, Belle hurried Vance away, sounding slightly winded. Finally, I was starting to think that it'd just be me and this guy all night. The taller person said nothing. But the lack of response did not seem to slow the woman down. So who do we have here? 2 of you, right? She prodded at them with her cane, whacking them around the ankles. Or is it just one person with a really big imp? Oh, no, it's 2 of us. So you can speak. Well, that's helpful. Yes, I am Dr. Harold Ludicale, and I'll be performing the seance this evening. Man, she wasn't kidding when she said she was getting an expert. Harold beamed. Shamed it had to be you, though. And just who do you think you are? Harold did his best to shut up Faraday. But the woman heard him anyway and could scarcely hold back a peal of arrogant laughter. Dayless? Harry gave an audible groan of disappointment, which only served to make her grin even more broadly. Yep, that Dayless. If you've seen a ship with our marking, then I designed it. Even if you haven't seen the marking, we made half the ships in the harbor. So, you know. You're welcome. For, like, all of the free trade you enjoy each day. Faraday gritted his teeth and decided not to let the shipwright get away with the slight. Big deal, so you made 1 or 200 ships. Good for you. I've been on better. Oh, big words, mister. It's Faraday. Holly Faraday. Dayless shrugged. Never heard of you. Faraday sucked in a breath to tell Dayless exactly who he was. But Harold lifted a hand and gave him a desperate, pleading look. Instead, he looked down to the journal sullenly and scrawled his ire into it instead of saying anything aloud. I want to see this. Pronounced Dea de Luce. Shipwright thinks she's so special because she's economically noteworthy. Harry turned to the taller fellow, hoping to have a little more luck with them. Hello, a pleasure to meet you. The figure gave the slightest of nods, and then stared at Harold, offering no further greeting or conversation. Harry's mind had half a dozen different reasons why Goose might choose to commit this social slight, and how each of them was probably Harold's own fault. He was so wrapped up in the preemptive guilt that he almost missed it when they did speak. Hey. A great listener, this one. I was just telling them about how marriage is a scam. Harold did not have time to ask what could have caused such a topic to come up. He just got to nodding. Yes, spending your life with just one person would be so limiting. I disagree. Commitment is nice. That's not to say that life partnership doesn't have its upsides. Faraday rolled his eyes. You getting dizzy over there? Miss Daylus, did you happen to know anything about Gareth Canterbury? Just that she died and people keep talking about it. Dea Daylus gave a carefree shrug. How about you, Goosey? It's not purple, we're fine. Wasn't me. Outside the room there was a lilting melodic cry of joy. Please tell me that's who it sounds like. The sound of fawning excitement traveled down the hall, and before long the host arrived with her next guest in tow. The door swung open, revealing a figure swathed in pink silks and sheer beaded fabric, Her eyes shone with an abundant delight. Harold gave a slight gasp of enthusiasm. It's Clarice Myers. Who? If you can't take an interest in current events, we'll never have anything to talk about. We can talk about the current state of mold in your kitchen. Oh, your parlor is beautiful. Is it the inspiration for the Duchess Baker's parlor? How could you tell? I've been rereading all her scenes. The way the bookshelf is positioned and the pattern of the chair. Yes, I picture her scheming all of her nefarious plots right in that chair over there. The energetic young lady crossed the room to run her hand along the fabric of the arm. Oh, it gives me a perfectly wicked vibe. Can I sit in it? You certainly can. The young lady settled into the chair, and the innocent features of her face contorted into a sinister glare. She threw back her head and gave a laugh so chilling, goosebumps rose on the back of Faraday's neck. Try as you might for as long as you live, you'll never prove it was me, Constance Little Bear. Belle's jaw dropped. Exactly how I imagined her. I love it. Miss Myers, I think you're disturbing the other guests. The young lady hopped from the chair, eyes wide once again and apologetic. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm just so thrilled to see it for myself. No, Debbie, stop being such a spoil sport. Miss Myers, I couldn't have asked the director to cast a better Duchess. Yeah, are you kidding? A preview performance right here? Sounds like she knows how to party, unlike the rest of you chumps. There we go. Sorry. When are you going to start doing an evil laugh? That seems like something a real hitman would have. Better if they don't hear you coming. This guy's starting to creep me out. Shh, don't let them hear you. Belle and Myers, however, were still off on their own, in their own little world, fawning over each other. Oh, I hate to be a bother, but Miss Belle, can I please have you sign this copy of the chain? I have all of the ones with your stories in them, but this one is my favorite. Constance racing to solve the murder before the train pulls into the next station, all while knowing she might be found by the conductor. It was so thrilling. Belle took the less than pristine magazine and unclipped the gleaming bronze fountain pen from her pocket. Her signature was large and loopy in striking indigo ink. I use this pen for all my manuscripts too. This ink just seems to make my pen flow faster. Myers' eyes sparkled with admiration as she took the signed copy back. She stared as if in awe that she'd just seen magic. Belle seemed to remember the rest of the guests were there. Oh, let me introduce Miss Clarice. Clarice Myers. Loved you in that one with the flower girl and the... elocution lessons? Deleuze hopped in front of the group, quickly shaking Miss Meyer's hands. Didn't think you had a villain in you, but you sure proved me wrong. Oh, thank you. I promise I can be very evil when I want to be. Vance looked over to Clarice, finally giving an approving nod. My dear, are you wearing an imp in your hat? Oh yes, I'm awfully glad someone noticed. It's all the fashion uptown, watch. The small creature rose from her hat, and quietly, with the poise of a ballerina, began to dance. Clarice Myers sang a crystalline soprano, weaving a hauntingly pretty melody. The others stopped what they were doing and crowded around to watch them perform. Vance smiled and Deleuze stopped fidgeting, an ear turned intently up to listen. The little imp moved with grace, elegance, and far too many joints. After a moment, however, it cracked. Harold crossed the room, quickly pulling chalk from his jacket pocket. Miss, allow me to. Myers did not let a hint of awkwardness or effrontery show. Oh dear, don't mind. That happens all the time. See, she can make a new one. The little imp placed a tiny hand to its cheek, as if laughing off the embarrassment. And its mask reformed. Oh, what a clever little trick. The imp bowed, then hid away, back among the flowers of Myers' hat. Harold slunk back over to Faraday's side. Do you think it's okay? Though he had whispered, Deleuze must have been feeling particularly nosy as she chirped up for all to hear. Of course she's okay. Everybody's imps do weird stuff sometimes. It doesn't mean anything. One look at that beautiful imp and one can easily tell that it harbors a beautiful soul. The imp is the pure expression of an artist's creative drive, her ability. One shouldn't trivialize it. There was a general agreement amongst the room that the others started chatting. Harold wandered over to a far corner and wondered if he could summon something that could drag him straight off the face of the earth. Is that really what people think nowadays? That imps are their creativity? Their souls? And they break them out for little fun shows? You were gone a while, Holly. We did all that research and the public just traded one lie for another? Look at this journal you've got me writing in. It's my old notebook. I'll just open it up and show them my notes. Leave it be. Ramp is advanced, to be sure, but maybe nothing will happen. If you try to tell them this darling of the stage has a demon, that if she uses it like this, it will make it stronger and more dangerous. It will be mocked and maybe even forcibly removed. Aren't we responsible for at least trying to correct them? If someone gets hurt and we said nothing... Faraday was no stranger to Harold's haggard, tired expressions. But as Harold looked at him, his eyes communicated a fatigue so deep it must have taken years to accumulate. I hate this city. They'd eat a rock if you told them it was an oyster. Holly's notes on imps and demons are available to read. Let's get out of this room and start sealing the mansion. Notes. Should have a good time, so to summarize the points for the presentation, demons aren't just the big monsters that lurk in the woods or destroy the small villages. Everyone might even have a really tiny demon running around hiding in their keys or eating their socks or something. We humans contribute to them via negative emotions. The difference between a harmless or harmful demon is how powerful we let them get. But what if, pause for effect, we could put the demons someplace where they can't feed off of us? Professor Ludicale has developed a system for capturing renegade or stray demons. We can use the sealing alchemy to confine demons to objects or locations, but we absolutely must take responsibility for our own demons. The professor's goal for each person is to have the option to seal their own demon deep within themselves. The professor has already successfully done this on 2 people. Show photographs of my eyes. Have the professor comment on his own suppression once it's done. Oh, interesting. Let's get that funding. Friday? The meeting went too well. They refused to treat the process as a medical procedure. They talked about rebranding demons. Harry said that we should be open to whatever gets us the funds we need. I'm not going to lie, these assholes. I'm not going to lie to these assholes for money. Screw this. There's a cat trying to get into my room. Give me a second. Oh wait, how am I gonna walk? Oh, ow. Ow. Okay. Okay, before I let the cat, I'm gonna look at this. Well, it still moves. I think we're fine. I'm gonna have to duct tape my foot later, though. Hi, Hope. What's up? You wanna come inside? Wanna come in? It's okay. Hi. Please don't step on my toe. Meow. Here. Aw, aren't you a good girl? You're so sweet. You're so sweet, Hope. Ow. There you go. There you go. Good girl. You can sit here. It's okay. I don't think you're gonna want to drink that, though. I have returned. Where's my headphones? Oh, down she goes. Are you gonna go nap? Psst. There you go. Alright, let's continue. Good idea. If I had to spend one more minute in here, I'm gonna lose it. Ooh! Wait, can we go? Okay, so these areas we can't go to. Is there anywhere specific we need to go? I guess not. Let's see. I think these aren't labeled. I wish it would tell me where I currently am. Let's go to the kitchen. Hello? Vance. Of all the ridiculous. Vance put her hand down on a piece of paper when they entered, but with a small, vibrantly violet corner visible. When she moved to grasp it the rest of the way, she dropped it. Faraday rushed over to pick it up. It says, Bernadette Bell, tonight we are coming to steal. Steal? Vance snatched it away and then crumpled the paper up. I'm sorry, this is a letter that was slipped under the door. Miss Bell didn't want it to distract from the party tonight. So she asked me to get rid of it. Yeah, that thing sure looks like some distraction. She gets threats sometimes, it's nothing serious. Well, I will be finished sealing this place in a bit. It will be no one can leave or enter, so she should be safe. Vance did not seem mollified by this. She waved her hand. Don't let that soup boil over. Of course. Harold nearly fell over the table in his rush to comply. Not you, the help. Or rather, the other help. Harold watched as an imp the size of a very large oven bumbled by. It walked slowly, as if moving at all was a chore. The heat emanating from it, even from yards away, made Faraday start to sweat. It opened its mouth and whistling filled the room. Faraday grimaced and covered his ears. The large imp removed a tea kettle, poured a cup, and put the kettle back in its mouth. As soon as the mouth was closed, the sound stopped. Vance took the cup, sipping it and surveying the room. Once on the table, a knife-like imp was chopping some form of leafy garnish. Oh, a knife flying all over the place on its own. Watching that isn't disconcerting in the least. You needn't fear. It's all well under control. So the height of technology allows people to finally take a good hard look inside. And what have we done? Sold them to the highest bidder. What's next? Legalizing the black market for organs? These are just rental imps. Some hard-working people, through no fault of their own, very much need that money. Belle considers it magnanimous to at least help those people with their debts. She rents from these people often, but they go back to their originators after a month. It's their decision if they want to rent them out again. It's messed up either way. Vance turned to check back in on the other imp that was washing dishes. Dinner is almost ready. If you don't hurry, the food will be cold for everyone. Harold hurried over to the windows and set to sealing them. Had he been in front of a classroom, he might have added a touch of flourish to his hand motions. He would have explained the process in affectionate detail and called out his words loudly, emphasizing unnecessary syllables in order to add pomp and majesty. But instead he huffed 3 quick breaths onto the window and traced the symbols in the foggy glass. He closed his eyes and focused on the rolling, abundant anxiety within his gut, and without a word, pressed it all down. The glass grew hot under his touch. A quick dash of salt, and it was done. One more seal down. Harold finished sealing the windows, and the 2 men left. So we were just in the kitchen. Let's go to the office. This must be where she writes. Good to know at least one room here isn't just for decoration. Not everything has to be utilitarian. It does on a ship. You're such a braggart. Gallivanting off on ocean travels, while the rest of us are stuck boarding ourselves up in a dry study. It's not like I got a lot of time above deck. You think I just had a lovely time working on my tan? You don't even have the grace to look back on it fondly. You're a fundamentally ungrateful person, says the guy who hasn't washed his own laundry in 3 months. Harold set about sealing these windows too, while he was in deep concentration. Oh, you boys already got in here? I came to open the door for you. I usually leave this room locked. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. We were just about to finish up here. It's quite alright. I leave anything important double locked. You wouldn't have found it if you tried. Harold's teeth were grinding loud enough for Belle to hear them across the room. Please, Dr. Ludicale, you do not need to be so on edge all the time. I assure you I am already aware of your history, but I have the utmost confidence. Well, I think that Faraday can handle this room on his own. I'll just head along, shall I? Faraday sprinkled down the last line of salt along the windows, and Harry rushed out of the room, cheeks burning with shame. Belle carefully relocked the room behind them, and tucked the key into her sleeve. Boiler room. Harold got right to work. While Faraday lingered, peering over the railing. The boiler was immense, large enough to fit a carriage inside. Why make a room like this so big? It's a big house, but it is quite something to look at. It must cost a ton to heat this place. Can we heat your place more this winter? If this job leads to another one, maybe. If you say no, then I'm sleeping in your bed, and you stay in your own room. As the two returned to the parlor, they found Clarice admiring the decor. Miss Myers, do you know anything about Gareth Canterbury? The illustrator? She was Miss Belle's dearest confidant, and she was murdered. Terrible how the papers keep sensationalizing it and hounding her for interviews. She clearly has nothing to do with it, and yet they're harassing her because she's famous and writes about murder. All just to sell papers. It's so heartbreaking. Thank you. It's disgusting if people want to wring money out of other people's tragedies. Dreadful. I feel so sorry for Miss Belle. I hope you will all be gentle with her feelings tonight. She's probably trying to take her mind off that whole thing. Holly clicked his tongue. I don't think she is. She hired me to summon her ghost. That seems so ghoulish. Literally. Whoa. This party is getting better each minute. And it will only... and it will only improve now that I'm here, gorgeous. The group turned to see the new arrival. I'm admittedly intrigued, but that's some big talk. A man waltzed into the room with the utmost confidence. He sported... Why are there so many words I don't know in this game? What is this? Coiffed hair? A lilac waistcoat that was so out of style, yet it bordered its own kind of archaic chic. Also, is he human? And a pair of long tapered ears. Faraday barely noticed the others enter the room. Vance supported a slightly wounded Belle in her arm, helping her into a chair. Being too boring would literally kill me, so I'm very motivated. Oh, your ears! Are you a fae? I've only heard about them in books. What do his ears look like? Dea prodded Goose again with her cane, prompting them on. Is she blind? Cute? Subjective descriptions don't help. They're pointy. And very charming. Charming is subjective. Nonsense. Charming is objectively very, very me. I'm Lupin Flowers. And no, it isn't every day you meet a fae. Vance squinted at Lupin. I don't actually remember inviting you. I wasn't invited. But I thought that was rude. Such a collection of adorable people and me not invited. Shame. Plus, I was friends with Canterbury. Gary was good to me, and I found out you were going to be contacting her tonight. Call me romantic, but I couldn't miss a last chance at seeing her. It couldn't hurt. And Gareth was so quiet, I didn't even know she had other friends. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Well, if you're certain. Debbie, shouldn't you know better than anyone else to never turn away a fae? Nonsense. As an expert, I know that the Fae are all sweet, adorable, and wholesome creatures. They are born amidst the cabbage patch, and tenderly rock the children to sleep at night. Where did you get that nonsense? Sounds like something out of... It sounds like something out of a Deborah Vance storybook. Can you get dinner started, Debbie? You have the cooking and serving imps in the kitchen, don't you? Of course, please be careful. Lupin bounced on his toes and turned towards Belle with a regret. What an odd pair, you and her. Her books are all old, stuffy, plotless fairy stories, and you write exciting, gruesome murders. Witnessing such a wild faux pas, Harold was white in the face, murmuring. He knew that she was Deborah Vance, and he still said that to her face. Oh, God. Little prissy Miss Cabbage Pat edits your tales of murder. You're just full of such wonderfully vibrant ideas. I can see it in your eyes and your writing. Lupin looked at Belle with the most adoring smile to accompany the compliment. Whatever could a frump like that bring to the table that you didn't already have? In spades. Myers hopped like a child in a classroom when eager to be called on by the teacher. Miss Belle, do you mind if I tell him? Go right ahead. It's infinitely more to hear my accomplishments coming from someone else's mouth. Myers dove in. Miss Belle published the first mystery under a pen name. You see, she wasn't confident in her work. Though the first one wasn't a major hit, it got people excited about the characters, and she started to write more stories. A couple years ago, she got picked up by the chain. That's when I found out about her. That's when I started reading her as well. You can get the chain in Arcadia, if you know the right guys. Well, eventually, Miss Belle felt confident enough to reveal her name. Miss Belle's a brand new writer, but as you know, Miss Vance had been around for about 100 years, looking at those crow's feet. You only get brow creases that bad from scowling all the time. Miss Vance has been around for a while longer, so she has a lot of publishing connections, and she helped Miss Belle get into the industry. Faraday balanced the journal against his arm to add more. When Faraday looked up, Lupin was already behind him, peering over her shoulder. Another cute writer. I'm going to get overstuffed with stories tonight. They're just notes. Oh, are you casing the joint? Oh, Belle does have some amazing things, though. She's been collecting occult items. That's what I've read. You can see some of her gorgeous curio cakes over there. Billu scolded Goose. You didn't tell me what's in the curio case. I didn't look. Well, how about I give you all a tour? Before we get into the tour. I saw it light up. I don't know. Ah, here we go. A Fae, friends with that's it. Publishing connections. Yeah, okay. This pair of silver rods are supposed to be useful in finding hidden items. This spike is my most recent purchase. The seller said it was the tooth of a toxic shark demon. Ooh, Goosey, is it stained with blood? Goose grinned. No, but it's about the size of your fist. Whoa. This set of candles is from the first successful angel summoning. Faraday leaned over to whisper to Harold. That's not a thing, right? Some demons are good liars. These coins are said to be clues that lead to a treasure map. Something for me to keep busy with once I retire, I suppose. Invite me along for that one day. I definitely want treasure discoverer on my resume. Down here is a device that reacts to ghostly presence. I plan to test it tonight. As well, don't get your hopes up. Devices like that tend to be completely fake. Unlike Harry here. Faraday muttered under his breath. That last one was a personal favorite. It's a listening device that can pick up people's inner thoughts that are floating around the air. I've heard a lot of interesting things in the ether. Incredible, but you must hear such strange things. They can be strange and difficult to decipher, but they really can push me right through when I'm feeling stuck. The inner mind is such an intriguing place. With the others distracted, Harold shook his head in disbelief. The doorbell chimed again, and Belle smiled as she excused herself. Most of the group stayed crowded around the case, admiring the items, but Faraday and Harold pulled back to talk privately. If you're going to be selling fake seances, then we might as well get into the fake artifact business too. Demon sharks. Holly curled his fingers, and with both hands, pantomimed a large pair of jaws. He chomped them on Harold's arm. The briefest of moments, Harold smiled. But it quickly gave way to his usual demeanor. I certainly hope they're all fake. What if one of those was actually someone's severed imp? The ones in the kitchen are bad enough, but at least they're under Vance's control. Nobody's approved and rented out the stuff in the cabinet. If one got up and got loose... Speaking of getting loose, maybe we should start sealing those windows? I don't want to miss dinner because I'm hanging off the roof putting salt down for you. I want to at least meet the guests first. I barely found out anything about Canterbury. True, I guess you need to make this as convincing as possible. Though, looking at that case, it seems she's the type to believe you can move without rowing. Hey! Harold narrowly avoided a heart attack and face plant straight into Faraday's We'll be right back. I'm going off on a little unauthorized tour with the cutie on my arm. No telling, okay? You only get to peek into other people's houses on a rare occasion. The loose and Lupin slipped out of the room before anyone could give me kind of objection. Damn, that Faye was the only one who claimed he knew Canterbury. It would be great to know what kind of thing Belle's expecting to ask her. I would assume it's something about murder, that or confessing some sort of feelings. That would be a lot easier, if not more ethical. Bernadette Belle re-entered the room just for a moment, followed by a formally dressed military man. His boots made a loud, crisp sound as he walked. Unless we are graced by more Faye, this is our final guest, Lieutenant Merrick Newark. The man, who now darkened the doorway, caused Holly to narrow his eyes. You know him? When you've been at sea as long as I have, you know one, you know them all. Newark shook Clarice's smile. It's good to see I have some other guests I can recognize. I went to see her first show on a date with the woman who would be my future wife. She loves your work. Oh, how sweet. Have you got yourself someone special? Oh, no, not interested in that kind of thing. At least not in real life. A girl as pretty as you? You're very flattering, Lieutenant. But as I said, I'm really not interested. You don't have to come up with excuses. Like I said, you look very... You could afford that Duchess's tea, let alone upkeep with her lifestyle. Lifestyle? I must go. My flock, peacocks required a good solid cutting. Myers stepped out the door. Not me to follow. Faraday moved quickly in the way. Hey, didn't you say you're married? Butt out. What does it matter to you who she is or isn't interested in? No one's talking to you, Porky. You're the Porky and Water Pig. The music went off. Wood stepped towards Faraday, who stared him downright back. The metal on his chest suffered something. What? Shifted, opening to reveal a scrambling by. Ugh. Step aside, or I'll step on you. Faraday's ankle jerked aside at an odd angle, but he barely kept it from twisting. His hands trembled. Leave her alone. Luckily for Faraday, Belle chose that moment to return to the pulp. Lieutenant, I ask you please not use your imp on my guests? Of course, Miss Belle. That's one dangerous creature. They're all dangerous. Not at all, it only helps make sure people listen to what they're told. It's essential to have discipline in the military. But we're not in the military. I was just feeling a little scared joke. I wasn't gonna do anything. We're all friends here. Merrick shoved for a day, but roughly knocking him off balance. Harry managed to catch his arm. Ollie, don't make us see him. I don't think I could have wanted to. What the hell kind of species is that? See, he's fine. So you said all imps are dangerous? Of course, an imp could destroy man. Well, I assume that means yours is quite ferocious. Because you had a demon. It'd have to be... I'd have to do my duty by law. I just see things. I'll give a low, deep chuckle. I'll be sure to beware them. Harry cleared his throat and tried to pull his friend aside, out of the line of fire. We should probably finish getting this place sealed. I'll take my assistant with me. Harold gave an apologetic smile to Belle. Belle returned to with more glance of her own. It shone genuine. Thank you, Dr. Lucael. Lucael? That Lucael? Isn't he under house arrest? Laughter erupted from outside, however. Whatever he was about to say, it was 2 miles away. His attention had been completely diverted. I'll show you, because I really mean any where I'm knocked out of. Yeah, so good to see you. At the sound of the lieutenant's voice, Belarus froze, and turned to walk right back out the way she came. So, Mr. Flowers, need a light for your cigarette? Oh no, you'd be amazed what I can do with fire. Let's my big room and I'll show you. Very smirked as they left. 2 for 2 with the ladies tonight, huh? Seems like she's not that into you, deckhand. She's just being playful. It's her way. Ollie, let's go. Harold picked up his large container of salt and left her in the room. I wanted to tie that guy to an anchor and throw him into a raging storm. As far as I could tell, it seemed like this would probably help you. So would most of my crewmates. You know, the sailor ratio is all off here. Too much law. What if we called in some of them? Please don't get us in trouble here, Ollie. You promised you weren't going to embarrass me. Sorry, I didn't know that was embarrassing to stand up for yourself. You know what I mean. Get in what's face and make a big scene. You might not have spine, but I can still locate mine. An officer like that could actually hurt us. He could hurt you. I'll try not to rile him up. But if he starts it, I promise I won't fight back. Mom and the rest of the crew didn't raise me to battle with you guys like that. They finished sealing the mansion. They were barely done by the time it was time for dinner. Vance's carefully chosen seating took some shuffling to fix. Faraday disregarded the name cards as a suggestion and sat down next to Harold. Julie switched seats at the last moment, leaving Clarice next to Merrick. Lupin didn't even have a name card, but in the end, they guests all took their seats at the table, and the smell of roasted garlic and juicy turkeys started floating down the hall. Vance wheeled in a carpet with a lovely ivy patterned cloth. Atop it was a large tureen of soup. When she opened the lid, a fragrant cloud of steam billowed out of it, and she dished bowls. Belle glanced to check that everyone had gotten their soup, but started shortly afterward, prompting the others to begin to eat as well. Clarice, I must apologize. I haven't been able to assist in your character workshops. It's quite alright. Hello? Hi! Welcome, thank you. Thank you for your understanding. The rights are so extensive. But it's my responsibility to get you the script. I see Minecraft tag. There's still a Minecraft tag? I thought I removed it. Hold on. There is a Minecraft tag. That's not supposed to be there. There we go. I think it's fixed. Update. There it goes. It's my responsibility to get you the best script possible. But the director says that he's assembled the finest cast of his career. People are pretty excited for it to even out of town. I've heard my patrons talking about it, but it shows a hot topic in shipyards too. They said you might be touring with the show does well. Yes, I wanted to travel around the country, maybe even around the world. But it's so expensive and scary to do alone. I'll just imagine that glamorous tour, meeting stars, getting fan letters ferried over the ocean just to tell me how they love the show. It would be a dream come true to have so many people see me perform. Lupin ran a spoon over the bowl swirling the soup. He made a small whirlpool in it, and the broth splashed to the side. He didn't bring the spoon to his lips. I have a lot to go over this evening, but while we should try to keep it light. So I think you should ask Goose the question any person would have for someone in their profession. How do you get jobs? You mean jobs? Killing people? Yes. It's not as fun as you're hoping. I had a boss. He told me who to go after. That's it. What do you mean you had a boss? What happened to him? The same thing that happens to everyone eventually. Retirement? Essentially. So handsome and mysterious. Lupin cooed at Goose. Goose stared down their soup bowl. The lieutenant laughed and pointed at the hole in Goose's middle. While looking at you, he took Severance passage. Goose took their time slurping up the soup. Before responding, you should have seen the other guy. Goosey, what's that group talking about? I'm not all here, I'm partly somewhere else. Where? Sold me a while back, like other folks, and left a hole. Mine kinda hard to hide, though. Hell if I know where the imp is now. Vance called across the table. Language. Sorry, I'm just saying, if I knew where that part was, I would be there too. Lupin leaned back in his chair and let out a loud whine. I'm famished. Can't someone tell us a good story already? Anyone have weird family secrets? Saucy romance? A neat gender? Duluth finished off her glass of wine. Ludicael tranced his gender. Don't do that, Harold. I swear it's not as funny as you. Why, yes. You see, at its core, alchemy is the study of transmutating oneself. Oh no, I think that Mr. Lupin is looking for one of the more unfashionable genders. His throat tightened. Harold squeaked out something so high and soft that only Holly could hear it. I want to die. You can die next week. That's what you said last week. Lupin pouted and crossed his arms. Nah, give me something else, something really interesting, Mr. Seance Guy. You haven't said that much. Tell me your story. The quiet ones always make me curious. Nothing much, though. Don't be modest. It would be rude to leave our fate guest hungry. Though maybe you're worried he'd throw up your story. Lupin, are you saying you really haven't heard of Professor Ludikill and that whole scandal? Can't say I have. He basically invented his whole inquiries. That it was a mistake, sure. You can't be that hard on the guy for not knowing the consequences of your research from the start. I think they're lovely. It's aren't a mistake. No one's mad at Ludikill for that. Gems are useful, and we can get a good, long look at anyone's true self using them. We can also tell when someone has been lying, and waiting to prey upon the innocent people around them. Especially when they slip up and expose their true nature at an event with thousands in attendance. Oh, and what was that? Silverware cluttered. Oops, dropped my damn spoon. Language. As I was saying, everyone used to think very highly of Ludikill, but the city wised up quick when they saw. Oops! My hand smacked into a bowl, returning it. Dropped my fucking soup. Language. Faraday flushed Harold with a smile. Harold could have kissed him. That was if he hadn't felt suddenly very nauseous. Well then, the gentleman with the pale hair. He must have some stories. I'm just asking for a little appetizer. Alright. So one time, up in the Lake of Frost, coldest I've ever been, I felt like I had ice in my lungs. I had 3 blankets on, yet the frost still got through. The boat was pitching around waves, rocking like it was about to flip over. We would dive in that water. It was freezing, but I still finished my research notes and I wrote a letter. So you did nothing. It was an excellent letter. I still have it. Lieutenant skewered something on his work. It's real cute. The way little guys get excited about travel. He goes on one boat, and now he's a lifetime of naval experience. I was on that boat for multiple years, but go on. The lieutenant ignored his interruption. Now me, he snorted, chewed twice, and swallowed. I got a whole fleet of ships to surrender. I read about that in the paper. I bet the paper didn't tell you how he did it. Vance barely raised the volume of her voice, but her stern tone carried. No politics at the table, sirs. No offense, but I think y'all need to work on your storytelling. If we let them fight, it could make for a good story. Absolutely not. Okay, let me give you a good one. So I had this friend. She was in the worst relationship ever, basically. She had a controlling, overprotective father and only, like, one friend. The friend was basically a nobody. She figured if she married him, she could get out of the house. And maybe her big fancy family name could help him out. You know, get him up in the ranks in the military. Noah gave a cough. It sounded like a growl of some large beast. I don't think that story is suitable for dinner either. Lupin's eyes flitted from Duluth to Noah and back. That's such a shame for your friend. If she needs someone to comfort her, I know just the guy. Duluth trailed a finger around the rim of her wine glass. Well, he wouldn't happen to be actually charming, would he? Oh, he is. Let's talk about something else. I agree. Anne stood up to dish out the main course. A large roasted turkey to all of the guests. At Vance's command, a small razor with them and carved the meat cuts off the carcass. Ooh, why don't we have Becky tell us about they? Vance kept her eyes firmly on her work. I may have been working from older source books, but it was a long time ago. Embellishment for the sake of the reader's normal, and an artist can find herself sorely limited by facts. Don't you worry, I don't care, I think it's funny. I can tell you certainly increased the number of people who ask me if I've come around the cabbage field. And I think it's great to see the look on their face when I tell them. Not I was born from the little dewdrops on a spider's web. And I carried a little mushroom as an umbrella. I feel like I remember getting that kind of story read to me. They were really popular, but now only kids and old ladies like that stuff. I did start them quite a long time ago. What do you write now? The carving imp went through a bone, it let out a low cry, and Harold flinched at the sound. You can understand how frustrating it is to be limited by what readers expect of you. Faraday had spent enough time procrastinating on his papers to feel sympathetic. Yeah, writing isn't that easy. I'm sure you've read a lot since your early work. I mean, at least your stories are probably better than that first one Belle wrote. She's right there! My guy! You are insulting the host! What is wrong with you? Am I right? Tearing down one person's work to boost another reflects very poorly on your character. Miss Vance, you needn't worry so. Even Belle says the first one wasn't very good. The director and Belle are having to rewrite completely for the stage show. Belle laughed good-naturedly, but hit palm down the tabletop. Yes, it takes some time to find your feet. Yes, my darling, please do put on a little special thanks credit for word if you use my mushroom umbrella idea, okay? I don't mind if you use it, but I want proper credit. Vance looked to be at the end of her rope, embarrassment and annoyance plain on her severe features. I'll be sure to keep that in mind. The somewhat adversarial chatter continued on until the guests were all sitting with plates that were empty, and some sat very much short. Okay. we are gonna save and in train because I have half an hour before I need to go over and I need to fix my foot so I can actually walk over there. So I might see you later today. I might not see you till tomorrow, but I will stream again this weekend at some point. I promise that. I will see you next time.